Hi, I'm Michelle Engelman, Chair of the JUFJ Under 3 Working Group and member of the DC Leadership Council. I am pleased to introduce you to the Bainum Family Foundation. As a funder who works closely with both JUFJ and many of our coalition partners, the Bainum Family Foundation is a valued part of the DC advocacy community. Kimberly Perry, Executive Director of our partners at DC Action, described them this way, quote, "The Bainum Family Foundation has built a deep sense of trust through their long history of investing in economic justice for children and their families here in the district. They approach systems change through an anti-racist lens, listening to communities of color and adapting their strategy based on that input." End quote. Both the DC Paid Family Leave Campaign and the Under 3 DC Coalition received critical support from the Bainum Family Foundation, and those two campaigns have had tremendous impacts on the lives of DC's children, working families, and early childhood educators. I am thrilled to present the Bainum Family Foundation with a 2022 Heschel Vision Award.
The Bainum Family Foundation has built such a deep sense of trust here in the District of Columbia through, their long history of investing in education and economic justice for children and families here, but also I think through their approach to transformation with an anti-racist lens, the way they listen to our communities and they adapt their strategy where needed based on that input. They connect the dots in child well-being and by encouraging multidisciplinary partnerships. And then finally, investing in the long-term capacity of multicultural and multiracial coalitions like Under 3 DC, which really allow those closest to the pain to be architects of the solutions that will impact their everyday lives.
The faith-based work was core and central to Mr. and Mrs. Bainum, our founders. They both experienced great success at Adventist boarding academies, Seventh-day Adventist boarding academies. And because of that success, and specifically the character building that they felt like they gained during that time, it was very important to them that they continue to create a legacy for other young people to experience faith-based education. So we've continued that work through our Seventh-day Adventist initiative, and it has been central to a lot of the work that we have done over the years.
I think the foundation was very willing to look at things and invest in ways that they hadn't before. And so I was their flexibility, their willingness to be innovative, their partnerships and their development of partnerships. I think that is one of the deep, strong values of the foundation, is to create these partnerships. And so I think that for working with them, that was a really an important part of helping them develop those partnerships.
Over the years, Mr. Bainum specifically would consistently ask this question of what more can we do, along with his persistence, kept having us to look back at what more can be done to advance outcomes for children. And again, the data, the brain science, everything speaks to the idea that the earlier you can support a child and the earlier you can support families with young children, the better the outcomes, social, emotional, and academic. So it's a much larger body of work. But there's also this root component that brought us back to DC, because we were focusing quite a bit in Maryland and across the country with our faith-based work for a long while, is the idea that Mr. Bainum really started his signature program along with other philanthropists, which was the I Have a Dream program. And his sponsorship of that program, 25 years later, he brought the Dreamers back together and they all met. And then that inspired us as a foundation to go back into DC in a deep way. And that came along the same times that we were really beginning this process of thinking about early childhood.
the long-term structural impact is what's most, for me, is most impactful in terms of the foundation's work, because it has been around policy, around programmatic issues. It has been to make sure that their investments are long-term and that they are sustainable. And so that required being able to work in various arenas as we work towards improving the lives of the young children in DC.
The results of the kind of vision that the Bainum Family Foundation has had in the District of Columbia and the leadership they show every day has resulted in a few things. And the first being the most obvious, allowing the district to become the national leader in transforming early education. It's more equitable for our children and our babies, but also for the educators and professionals who dedicate their careers and their lives to it. More than 3,000 educators are now receiving the compensation they deserve, and more than 5,000 employees in early learning programs are now going to have access to free and affordable health insurance. And there's so many more transformational systems changes that are coming and on the way.
I really deeply want to congratulate the Bainum Family Foundation for being a 2022 Heschel Vision awardee, and hope that this will energize them to continue to be the support that they have been for the District of Columbia.
So I'd like to congratulate the Bainum Family Foundation and their entire team for being a 2022 Jews United for Justice Heschel Vision Award winner.
On behalf of the Bainum Family Foundation, we would like to thank Jews United for Justice for this Heschel Vision Award for 2022. It is an absolute pleasure to be honored, and we are humbled by this recognition. You know, our founders, Stuart and Jane Bainum, had for years really emphasized the importance of us working and being able to help solve problems in communities in a way that was going to allow for children to be successful. 5 years ago, we began working deeply with Jews United for Justice around policy and advocacy under our leader at that time, Barbara Bainum, and she has continued her family's legacy in that way. As we continue to this next iteration of our work, we're excited to be able to continue to be persistent in our work to help families and children with the young children. And we just hope that we can continue to live up to the legacy that Mr. and Mrs. Bainum and Barbara through her leadership has laid out for us, so that we can continue in our desire to see all children thrive. Thank you again for the Heschel Vision Award. We are honored by this opportunity.